Well, I'm back. Well, what have we got today? Well, today's all about the Mesa Boogie triple rectifier solo head. This one's from about 2004, I think, something like that. And it's the question about the Mesa Boogie Pop. No, I don't mean Coca-Cola or Snap and Crackle or anything like that. What I mean is, what you find on the majority of rectifiers, doesn't have to be a triple rectifier, it can be a dual rectifier, so on and so forth, is you can find that it can be a very noisy amp, particularly when you're changing channels. Now this one has, well, just to tell you from the off, this one has a fault on it which relates to the pedal or internally, but that fault doesn't and is not affecting the what I call the Mesa Boogie Pop on this amp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on and just let it stand for a few minutes, and then we're going to switch channels manually and you'll hear it yourself. Okay, well here goes. Let's turn it on and then we'll let it warm up. It should be on this channel, which it is. So we've turned it on. I'll leave it sitting like this for about 10 or 15 minutes, or maybe just 5 minutes. I'll tell you afterwards. And just to confirm it is on and it is running, I've got this cheap and nasty cable just coming out the back. So you can see it's got a bit of a volume to it. Okay, well up to now it's been about 4 minutes or 5 minutes. Now I'm going to change the channel on the manual at the back, the manual knob, and just see if it pops. Let's see that. Let me take that out. Okay, well I've given it another few minutes just standing by itself. Yeah, so let's have another see if this pops. And remember, all I'm doing is turning it from the clean to the next channel. You heard that, I'll come back to that. As you can see, once it's been on, it's not quite as bad. But the first time you put this on, when everything's drained, all the caps have gone down and all the rest of it, you hear this really loud pop, which you did. Well, there is, as you might imagine, another fault. And when I bought this amplifier, the guy insisted it was a great amp and serviced and looked after and all the rest of that stuff that people say when they sell something, and basically they don't always tell the truth. That's just the way they are. Yeah, well here it is, and it, by the way, it came with no floor controller or foot controller to change the channels. I didn't think much about that at the time because, well, the truth is that, well, neither would you. You'd just say, well, okay, it hasn't got a pedal, I'll buy one. Which strangely I did. I went on eBay, and I bought this pedal for about £40, which is about $65. So it was a good deal. But of course I didn't know whether the pedal was good, bad or indifferent. I think it's good. I'm pretty confident that the pedal itself is good. Well, the reason I'm confident it's good is I contacted the seller of it. He said, yeah, it was perfect, worked fine. I never had any problem with it, it's just excess requirements. It sold this or done this or... Anyway, so as far as I'm concerned, I believe that's okay. Well, let me show you what the problem is. Okay, well here's the pedal, and you can see that channel 1 is lit up, and so it is on there too. And we've got channel 2, channel 3 and so on. So let's press channel 2 and see what we get. Sure enough, we're on channel 2 and it's switched. Where's the problem? Well, let's look at channel 3. Well, that works too. Solo, on and off. But the FX is lit up. Does that make any difference? No. Now you can hear them slight pops, I hope, in the background. And you can also see currently that this pedal is working. It doesn't always work. Okay, all I've done is turn the amp on and off. Nothing here, middle channel there. Now it might work if we press a button, but sometimes it doesn't. Let's give it a go. Sure does. Well, see that? See that then? See? And there lies the fault. So let's just sum up. I've got the first problem where you get the click, or the pop. Pop it goes. You heard it. Yeah, and then I've got the second problem where the pedal does work or it doesn't work. And when I switch everything on, it may work first go, or it may not work first go. It may show one channel on there, but have a different one on here. Now there's lots of reasons why that could exist. So I do want to separate out the two things, because even if your amp works perfect, if you've got that pop when you turn it from clean, turn it all on, turn it from clean to the next channel, to the mid channel, and you know, after it's been standing 5 minutes all by itself like so, and if it pops, well, guess what, you've got the pop syndrome. So what I'm going to do first of all is fix the faulty pedal. We'll call it a faulty pedal because it isn't the pedal, it's probably this. I'm quite confident it's the amp. So we're going to fix that first, and then we're going to take a look at the pop, the Mesa Boogie pop. I'm going to get the stand out, and we'll have that Mesa amp in here so I can get a good look at the backboard. And I think we'll probably pull that backboard out just to check the connections on the cable and things like that. That's got to be the first point of call, surely. Especially on an amp that's 2004 or thereabouts. So what I'm going to do is whip this chassis out. Remember, this is the amp that we did all the upgrades on before. We converted to 240 volts, we put a pile of tubes in, we've checked the biasing, we've done all the usual things. But I want to pull off this back board. How easy that'll be to do is another story, but I want to pull it off and have a look at the connections and just make sure they're all soldered right before we move on. So I'm going to get it out of the case now. Hold on. Okay, well now you can see across the back, there's this board that travels all the way along here, on this bottom row of connections. So we've only got to undo these nuts across the top, and then I think we'll be able to lift that board out of the way to be able to check this connection in particular here. And this one is the one that's for the foot switch, and it doesn't look so great to me, but well, it's difficult to know unless you've got it all apart. Now, as you can see on the screen at the moment, you can see there's the back of the foot switch connector, and behind it is a 7-way connector, a push-on connector. And along that board, in fact, there are 4 push-on connectors, which we're all going to look at. And well, we'll look through the diagram first, of course, to determine which connector does actually go across to the main board. Because on the main board, just down there, is a chip. You see that chip there? That chip there is, it appears to be the one responsible, yeah, for the switching. Once it's come from the pedal, of course. But for now, the first thing is I'm going to get rid of the voltage in this board, and then I'm going to unscrew this little subboard to just take a look at all the connections and a real close look at that socket for the foot switch, because it doesn't look so good. Okay, well, as you can see, I've got the board lifted up, and I can't really see that much wrong with the back of that socket, but the socket does look pretty worn, you know. So what I might do is just get another socket and fit that. And then of course I'm going to be checking these cables. You can see them here very carefully, because the cables connect off to the other board, and I have the sneaky feeling that this one here goes down to that chip. Well, I can see that it does really. Yeah, It's all fun. So I'm going to have a look closer, do a bit of soldering on the back of these things here, and just check that socket out a bit further, and I'll be back and report it to you in a moment. And just while I'm in here, by the way, I'm just doing a few tests with my ESR meter, yeah, just to check out the capacitances just one more time. You know what it's like, it's an old amp, I just wanted to be sure, but this is confirming that it's all good without taking them out. Okay, well, they've had a quick soldering back together. I did also close up the contacts in this socket for the foot switch, so just in case it does make any difference, and I'll be giving that another clean and we'll be testing it before I go any further. So it's a 7-pin socket, and I'm led to believe that a 5-pin MIDI cable will work, but I do have a 7-pin cable that I bought specifically for this job, specially purchased, by the way, for the job, and not cheap. Crazy. Okay, well, the board's back in. I'm just going to do a bit of cleaning up on these connectors. Okay, well, I've given it a nice clean up down here. I've flipped around on the switch and all the rest of it. And yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just plug it in and give it a try, see if it fixes this pedal problem. Okay then, with a bit of luck you can see the way that it's set up. I've got the pedal at the front here, basically a 5-pin MIDI. That's what it is. I've tried 7-pin as well, by the way. They didn't make any difference, so I wouldn't worry. I have actually seen this pedal work with the 5-pin, which is an important aspect, I guess. Well, let's turn it on and see if anything happens. It's currently set up to channel 1. Actually, let me set it to channel 1 on the amp rather than the foot switch. Let's turn on, see what we get. Well, I don't get anything on here. But if I turn it to foot switch, I've got channel 3 on there for some reason. No, I've got channel 1 now. I've got the FX gain on and off and the solo gain on and off. So I'm on channel 1, as you can see. I'm on channel 2, yeah, and now I'm on channel 3. So that might have been it. Just a bit of dirt or something like that. Well, unfortunately, there's still a problem. Unbelievable. If I can make it do it. I think it might get a bit more stable when it gets hotter. But here's the first point. If you look at the unit itself, all the manual switches all work perfect. The external switches all work perfect. So I can switch from external or manual on this. It's only when we come back to this foot switch that we start getting these problems. And I've looked at it and looked at it and looked at it, and it's difficult to find, let's put it that way. So if anybody's got any ideas out there, well, I'm still thinking, I'm probably going to post this video as it is, and then come back to it when I solve this problem, because I've got to. Well, let's take a look at that switch there. Now what I've got here is the standard switch. I've had a good look across it. I've tried to pin down everything I can, and I'm still struggling a little bit. I don't know whether you can see that or not. You probably can. So let's just have a look. It's only on standby, because that's fine where it is on standby. Let's just switch it off a few seconds, because it does make a difference. By the way, none of these chips anywhere, including that one, getting remotely aired. So there's no temperature things. I've checked all the resistors, I've checked all the capacitors on this board. But it's fair to say I've also had MIDI cables on here that do exactly the same thing. When I look at the schematics do talk about a number of pins. On this schematic here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Yeah, -3, +2, VCH, volts per channel, SW pin 3, and so on and so forth. And it appears to switch dependent on the voltage on a particular pin. Well, let's turn this on and show you what the current problem is. There it is, it's on. It's defaulted, if you notice, to channel 2, which I believe is the norm. So if there's nothing in 1 and there's nothing in 3, well, if 1 and 3 aren't effectively chosen at the back, it defaults to 2 when it's on the foot switch. If I hit, well, you can see that switched, and you can see that switched, and you can see that switched, but what happens sometimes, this makes that awful noise you've already heard earlier, and if you hold the thing down, if it's going to do it, you'll hear it. No. So I'm going to switch back to 1. I'm going to turn on the this one. This is the FX. The light comes on. It's likely it's already switched. So let's go across this number 3 now. You hear that? If I press this down, it's like there's a relay flicking zzz, like this. Now if I turn that off and go back, no problem. If I put this one, if I come there and put this one on and come back here and I hold it down, listen. Yeah, it sort of does it a little bit. So if I turn that off, come back to any of these, they're all fine and dandy. And even if I put that on, it's fine. If I go to 2 and turn on the effects button, so to speak, it's switched, and it's switched on the amp, but if I hold that button down, it's like the relays, very fast, oscillating fast. See that? And that's the general fault. If this is off, it works fine. I can also tell you that it doesn't always work fine. Sometimes when it's cold and you turn it on and you try and select 1, you can have 5 or 6 presses of that before this amp will switch to 1, even if you've waited a few seconds. So that's a current fault as I see it, and anybody who's got any answers for that, please post them down below. I've looked at the switches, I've looked at the connectors, I've looked at the cable, I've looked at the connectors the other end. I've sorted that out as best I can. I can't see anything wrong, but it's like anything else. You get what you get, don't you? Anyway, that's enough for now. I'm going to post this up not as a solution but as a problem. And anybody who's got an answer on this, it's a triple wreck. And let's go from there. If you can solve it, great. If you can't, I'll solve it by other means. But there you go. So for the time being, that's where I'm at. Anybody who's got any advice on this thing, I don't say take it to Mesa Boogie. That's not good advice. Yeah, I'm going around in circles a little bit with this. I might have to get my other friends in, but I'd sooner solve it myself rather than messing around with other people, you know. I have the spare chips, but I don't think it relates to the chips at all. I really don't. Still questionable about the cable. So if you've got a 7-pin cable, yeah, or if you've got a 5-pin, just let me know about that. And if you've seen anything like this before, yeah, I'd love to have a look. Scarily, I bought a dual rectifier yesterday. Yeah, I'm collecting it Monday, and it's about a month old, so it's one of the you know, multi-watt things. I just fancied one. Never had one of them, and because it's only a month old, and the guy's got some trouble and things like that. But he'll be okay, I'm sure he will, and he knows who he is. And yeah, when I get that in, I'll be showing you that one if I've got cleared the bench off with this one. If you've got any ideas on this, come on guys, that's what the internet's supposed to be about, isn't it? We're all supposed to be friendly and helpful and, yeah. Now get out of here.